Tell us about this and what happened on this horrible night while the rest of the island was celebrating Ireland in the World Cup.
Well, that's right. The 18th of June 1994 is etched on our soccer history, on our sporting past, on the celebrations that occurred right across the island after Ray Houghton put the ball in the Italians' net. But in that little village in Loughlin Island, just about 30 miles south of Belfast, there was a very different experience, which, we all come to remember that night for, when a masked gunman walked into a bar. Everyone was watching the match at the time, and shortly after half-time, and he opened fire with an automatic rifle and shot dead 6 men. Another 5 were injured in a purely sectarian attack. He shot them simply because they were there watching the match. They were supporters of the Irish football team, and it was the UVF that claimed responsibility. Ultimately, in a report from the police ombudsman in the north, collusion was confirmed. And that's when we made the documentary. It premiered in New York in October 2017. And that kind of revealed the full details of collusion and the horror that was visited on Loughlin Island on that night. As you say, we all remember for the match, but in the north, we all remembered for Loughlin Island as well.
This documentary, it exposed the collusion between the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary, and Loyalists in not exposing who the killers were. You then, in doing this documentary, yourself and your colleague Barry McCaffrey, you were both thrown in prison over this as well. What happened there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I dare anyone to watch the film and not come to the conclusion that somebody should be arrested. And of course, for the families of those who died, they hoped that would lead to the arrest of the killers, the chief suspects, the PSNI and the RUC's own chief suspects. But instead, on the 31st of August 2018, police came to my home in East Belfast and arrested me and my colleague Barry McCaffrey at his home in South Belfast. And we were accused of breaching the Official Secrets Act, the British Official Secrets Act, because we dared to put a document in the film. Now, we never denied we had this document. It was leaked to us. And, it was quite an incredible thing to do, to put a leaked document to a film, and we were trying to hide the fact that we had it. But the police came to our homes and arrested us and took us off to a terrorist holding centre in the centre of Belfast and questioned us for the rest of the day about this document and whether, in fact, we had somehow managed to steal the document. Again, if we had stolen a document, I hardly believe we'd put it in a documentary for the world to see.
Yeah.
But somehow the police, which I believe that somehow lost their moral compass, had decided that not to go after the killers, but to go after journalists.
Can I just ask you, how's it, like, you have kids and a wife when this happened?
Yeah, I mean,
you're an investigative journalist, whatever else, but I mean, to have the police turn up to your house, it's a frightening experience.
It was a life-changing experience, no doubt about it, Tommy. I mean, for my wife had her family in from London. She had a niece and her husband and 2 young children. And as you know, normally when cousins get together, they're all in one bedroom, and with my 3 daughters, and they're all looking forward to a wonderful bank holiday weekend. So when the police arrived, I could see it through the eyes of James, my niece's husband, who had, grew up in Kent, never experienced it.
Yeah.
And he was kind of looking at me going, this is all about a documentary. And I go, yeah, this is what happens in Belfast when you or get involved in a documentary which deals with collusion. So it changed their lives. My daughters still talk about the impact of that day. And we were very lucky to have children who grew up post-conflict. So they grew up in a fairly normal society.
Yeah.
They never expected to see their father arrested, nor Barry's family either.
But this is something that you've been drawn to throughout your career, and that is covering up this collusion that's happening between state agencies and other actors in society and in Ireland. This is something that has been widespread because of our history.
Indeed, and I think that, it's no surprise that investigative journalists like myself or Barry and all the others who were involved in the team are drawn to this. You can't help but meet the Loughlin Island families, Emma Rogan, Claire Rogan, the McCraner family, the family of Barney Green, who was 87 years of age. Like, these are incredible people who do not carry with them any sort of sense of revenge. These are women, men, who get on with their lives, who have campaigned for truth. They've given up on justice, but they've campaigned for truth. And you could never be anything but drawn to them and their determination to try to get at the truth. So, you know, we're inspired by them, and we hope that the film and the book does something to tell their story.
It makes me question, where's the title then, Shooting Crows, come from for the new book?
Well, when the police decided they were going to arrest us, so they went into a court on a Friday afternoon and persuaded a judge to grant the warrants that would allow them to carry out the operation. And the judge actually said, you know, something that really stuck with me. He said, am I sure here that you're not simply trying to shoot a couple of crows in a field in order to scare all the other crows out of the field? And I take that from meaning really what the police wanted to do was to arrest two journalists who had investigated the past, investigated collusion, in order to scare other journalists out of the field. And that's really part of the chill factor that there is now in the North as a result of this case. And that, you know, I'm not sure if I could look my daughter or any other young researcher who comes to work for us in the eye and say, yeah, I'd like you to investigate collusion now, but you've got to be aware that you could be arrested. It's not really a great career decision. No. So that was really that the Shooting Crows comes from that quip. But I also think that in 1994, loyalism was very much concerned with the embryonic peace process and where it was going to lead. And in some regards, shooting Loughin Island was, you know, the death rattle of the conflict. And it was an attempt in many ways to scare nationalists, to make nationalists concerned about what the peace process would hold. You know, it was all about instability and destabilising the North at that time. And so unfortunately, Loughin Island and the families of those who died there also know what Shooting Crows means.